They had lost the first battle, but they had ignited the fire of resistance that would, one day, burn the Reich to the ground. The first chapter of the Second World War was closed. But Poland was not defeated. Its government was in exile. Its soldiers, who had escaped, were regrouping in France and Britain. Hitler was triumphant. His Blitzkrieg had worked perfectly. He had gambled against the West and won. In the Soviet sector, Stalin's NKVD rounded up 22,000 Polish officers and systematically executed them in the Katyn forest, a massacre they would blame on the Nazis. The campaign had lasted just 36 days, but for the Polish people the nightmare was just beginning. Poland was erased from the map of Europe, partitioned by two dictatorships. They held a joint victory parade, an image history has tried to forget, the swastika and the hammer and sickle celebrating together. At Brest-Litovsk, the two invaders met, the Nazi Wehrmacht and the Soviet Red Army. The German army, arrogant, paraded through the city it had just destroyed. September 27th. With tens of thousands dead and the city starving, there was no choice. Warsaw capitulated. This was hell on earth, a preview of what London, Rotterdam, and Dresden would soon experience. A savage terror-bombing campaign began. Hospitals, churches, and residential areas were systematically targeted. Hitler, furious at the delay, lost patience. He ordered the city leveled. With no water, no power, and no food, the capital held out. General Schumann refused to surrender. But one place, one city, still fought. Warsaw. Completely surrounded by the German army, the formal war was over. But the fight for survival and resistance had just begun. The Polish government and high command fled to neutral Romania to continue the fight from exile. Poland now had no escape. The pincers had closed. The nation was being crushed between two dictators. The Red Army poured in, claiming they were protecting the Ukrainian and Belarusian people. In reality, it was a coordinated partition. Joseph Stalin, Hitler's new partner, ordered the Red Army to invade. It was the stab in the back. The last faint hope was extinguished on September 17th. A new army appeared on the eastern border. The phony war had begun. It was a total betrayal. Poland was left to die alone. But in the West, silence. On September 3rd, Britain and France declared war, and then did nothing. They were digging and fighting and dying, because they were waiting. They were waiting for their allies, Britain and France. In the capital, Warsaw, ordinary civilians refused to surrender. Men, women, and even children dug anti-tank ditches. They were ordered to hold for 12 hours. They held for 7 days, a symbol of Poland's unbreakable will. But Poland did fight. At Westerplatte, a tiny fortress, 200 soldiers held out against 3,500 Germans. It never happened. They were mobile infantry, and they did attack German infantry. But they were turned into a symbol of backwardness by propaganda. The most enduring myth: Polish cavalry, charging German tanks with lances. The Polish army, though brave, was caught between two eras of war. They fought with a courage that stunned the Germans. They were the sickle. They cut off entire Polish armies, encircling them in massive pockets to be destroyed later by the infantry who followed behind. Their job was to punch through weak points and race deep into the rear. Their targets were bridges, command centers, and supply lines. The second arm, the Panzer divisions, the armored spearhead, they did not stop to fight the Polish army at the border. It was pure psychological warfare, a sound designed to shatter a soldier's will before the bomb ever hit. And then, the sound that defined the invasion, the Jericho trumpet siren of the Junkers Ju-87, the Stuka. The undefended town of Wielun was bombed to rubble. Not a military target, but a terror target, designed to create panic and clog the roads with refugees. The first arm of the Blitzkrieg, the Luftwaffe. Its mission: destroy the Polish Air Force on the ground. It was not a weapon, it was a doctrine, a terrifying, coordinated assault by air and land, designed for one purpose: speed. The world was about to witness, for the first time, Blitzkrieg, lightning war. At the same moment, all along the border, 1.5 million German troops poured across. The war machine was unleashed. The battleship Schleswig-Holstein, on a friendly visit to Danzig, opened fire on the Polish fortress at Westerplatte, the first shots of the Second World War. 4:45 a.m. September 1st. Dawn had not yet broken, no declaration of war. They fired shots, broadcast a short anti-German message, and left behind the bodies of prisoners dressed as Polish soldiers. The proof was set. Operation Himmler. On the night of August 31st, SS commandos, dressed in Polish uniforms, attacked a German radio station at Gleiwitz. Now, Hitler only needed an excuse, a justification for his invasion. He created one, in an operation of pure cynicism. For Hitler, it was the masterstroke. The two-front war was gone. Poland was now isolated. Its guarantee from the West was worthless. For Stalin, it was a cynical move to buy time and let the capitalist powers destroy each other. But in a secret protocol, they agreed to divide Poland. Stalin would get the East, Hitler the West. Publicly, it was a non-aggression pact, two sworn enemies, fascism and communism, pledging peace. On August 23, 1939, he announced the most cynical, shocking deal in modern history, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Hitler now faced the nightmare that destroyed Germany in 1918, a war on two fronts. He had to neutralize one. But this time, Britain and France drew a line in the sand. They gave Poland a guarantee: attack, and it means war. Hitler had learned a fatal lesson. The West would not fight. Now, he turned his eyes to the final prize, Poland. 6 months later, in March 1939, Hitler broke that promise, marching into Prague. The policy of appeasement was dead. In 1938, at Munich, Britain and France gave him Czechoslovakia in exchange for a promise of peace in our time. First, the Rhineland, then Austria. The world, traumatized by the last war, did nothing. When he came to power in 1933, his promise was simple: to tear up the treaty and make Germany whole. For Adolf Hitler, this corridor and the separated city of Danzig were a bleeding, daily humiliation. The Treaty of Versailles had created a Polish corridor, splitting Germany in two to give Poland access to the sea. This wasn't a war that began in 1939. It was a fire sparked from the ashes of 1918.